And we're hot. Hey, look at the smiles and the waves. I'm here with Paige and Torin, the Walking America couple. I'm down in Southeast Alabama, and if you don't know me, my name is Will Marshall. I'm the proprietor of Marshall in the Middle, and this is part of the Heroes I Know series. Paige and Torin Rouse are walking across America. They're like, if you looked at their little snail trails, it's really wild. They're making this crazy. It looks more like an amoeba than it does like a trail across America. But it is just really wild how they're doing it. So welcome. It is Paige and Torin and Jack the dog, and they're walking America, talking about fixing yourself through thought training. They're talking about how when they first got started, they didn't really like people that much. That was part of what they were doing. And as they got to going, they realized that they were learning a lot about themselves, and they were exposing themselves to the elements, and sleeping under the stars, and sharing other people's homes. So welcome, Torin. Welcome, Paige. Welcome, Jack. Thanks for hanging out with me.
Having us.
Yeah. So where are y'all at? What part of America are y'all in right now?
We've actually gone home on vacation for a short little period of time. We're about to take off again, but not in the same form as we've been walking the country, because Jack's getting pretty old. It looks like we're in his last few months, and even though he has a bit of a puppy carriage on the cart, his ambition is a little bit more in his body can deal with. So I don't think that he's going to be able to surf the way that he typically surfs on the walk.
Oh, I bet. Right. I can't imagine, having to put up with and deal with and walk across the country with an animal that's unable to keep up. I don't know. It's just very interesting. Normally, I'd be the one left behind, and the animal would be like saying, "Come on, old man, keep up with me." Right.
He's done really well for someone.
Look. Yeah, good. He's up and moving around. I love it. So tell me about, what it's like to get to the end of the day and watch the sun go down and look around and go, okay, Torin, where are we going to sleep tonight? What's going on? I mean, what's that like? I mean, do you find the biggest tree or the closest ditch? Or, I mean, what do you look for to go hole up in the middle of the night?
It was a little more fun in that way in the beginning of the journey. It was more spontaneous. We did more camping and staying on public lands. We did kind of wing it, just like you're saying. Toward the end of the day, we'd have a couple hours left of sunlight, and we'd be like, okay, we're gonna start looking out for camp spots. And if we find a good spot, we're stopping as soon as we see it, because you don't know what you're gonna find down the road.
And it really depends on the area that you're at. Recently, we've done some of the more populated states, and in those areas, do your best to find more legal to pitch a tent, and that usually comes in the form of someone who wants to host you that knows that you're in the area. But other places aren't like that. We walked across New Mexico, and we walked across Montana, and in those sorts of areas, you sometimes have 100+ miles in between towns. So you don't have that luxury, and we've done a lot of sleeping under the road, but we've also slept in some really cool places. We slept just on this bluff that overlooked the Rio Grande, and we actually got sick there, and we would put a rock in our camping pot and then lure it down into the water with some paracord and fish up water, and then filter that water, because we were there for like 5-6 days or something like that.
So you're telling me that y'all were sick enough that you camped within sight of the Rio Grande for 5 days?
Yes, it was.
Oh,
beautiful.
wow. That's great.
That was in Colorado, and we were walking this road that went through the national forest. It was rather lucky that we got sick when we did, and we just cut off. We just took off the side of the road and started pushing our dollies through the forest, and lo and behold, there's the Rio Grande right there.
Yeah, I don't think we even knew we were walking up to it.
Yeah.
Those are the best moments.
Oh wow. It is amazing to think about all the sights that you've probably seen out there. All right. I read one of the I was reading earlier one of your blog posts about like a cart breaking in the middle of nowhere, right? And you having to figure out what to do with your stuff. What tragedies have befallen you guys out there?
We have had a good number of breakdowns.
The most uh, debilitating break for our carts was in New Mexico. So, like, the most desolate state we've probably walked so far. Thankfully, we had a friend probably 20 miles or so down the way, and he went so far out of his way to go bring us a new dolly. We got very lucky that time.
Yeah, he drove several hours to go to like one of the neighboring cities, local Harbor Freight, to pick up a new dolly for us. In fact,
So what things do you carry with you? What kind of stuff do you have on your carts that I mean you're pushing a dog sometimes, you're pushing obviously you got some kind of water, you got clothes, you go through like 10 shoes, a year, like a pair of shoes a month, you got to. Tell me about what kind of things you tote with you.
We have pretty much all the camping survival gear. We're trying to be pretty lightweight. We have lightweight sleeping bags, a tent, flashlights, battery banks, solar, cookware. Um,
we're pretty
sleeping
frugal
pads.
about all of our camping gear. We try to find like the best quality stuff for the lowest price.
Yeah.
Teton has been a huge resource for us. The Teton backpacks are, I mean, you'll wear them out eventually, but man, they sure are heavy duty for their price point, and that's what actually sits up against the handlebars of our dollies, and it rides right in front of us as we're pushing it. Other That's probably filled with. We have some 0-degree sleeping bags. We actually use carriage bolts in place of tent stakes because they bite into the ground a little bit better.
And a little tiny hammer to get them into the ground because some states there's more rock on the ground than there is soil.
Yeah, the hammer has come in invaluable. Whenever we transition over to backpacks, the hammer probably isn't going to get carried along with us, but it has been a game changer. For those of you who like to go camping, bring a hammer.
Oh yeah, right. You got to put those stakes in the ground, otherwise you'll fly away in the middle of the night.
Yes. We have kind of like your standard backpacking tent. It's probably about 4.5 pounds. So it's got two layers, external rain fly, and then an internal mesh layer with a bathtub bottom. It's pretty typical stuff. It's done really well. It's been flattened entirely about half a dozen times, and it still hasn't snapped a pole. Pretty proud of that thing because it's only like $80.
Awesome.
Good, right? Yeah, you need reliable gear when you're out there. You can't have something that's going to fail in the middle of the night.
I'm trying to think.
Depending on the state we're walking, our water storage is varied, but we've carried a 7-gallon and we've carried 2 7-gallon water jugs through Montana because the towns and resources were so far apart. We had to carry over 100 pounds worth of water storage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this summer we did Wyoming and Montana, North Dakota and South Dakota, and Montana we went through a 95-mile stretch and a 125-mile stretch, basically without any civilization, like enough to hold a post office, but not enough to rely on anything. So we were carrying a lot of weight, and we were shipping ourselves food, including Jack's food, which we had spent the 2 months prior to that segment dehydrating. So they let him eat food for 2 months while we were walking. Yeah, homemade food. We make all of Jack's food homemade because he's old. He's 16.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome. Tell me about like what started you on this journey. Like where did the idea come from? I mean, I can just see Paige sitting around looking at her husband saying, "Honey, we don't have enough to do. Let's go walk across America." I can just see that happen, right? I just see that. What was going on with that? Tell me about it.
When we met, Torin was already ready to do something on foot. He adventured himself several times before meeting. The original inspiration was probably the Colorado Trail.
Yeah, I had worked for corporations my whole life, and I was pretty miserable. Plugged into the wrong filter bubbles. the wrong echo chambers, very cynical. My perspective and my outlook was shaped by the kinds of information that I consumed, and I treated my mind like a garbage disposal, thinking that, well, I'm self-aware enough, I can kind of just entertain myself with whatever I want, and with my rational faculties, I'll have the ability to discern right from wrong, that sort of thing. But we really don't operate that way as individuals, and the field of psychology has got a lot to say about it. It's just that we're not all learning these things when we go through the standard education process, and we're not wearing it on our sleeve, even if we do know it. But eventually, I had kind of started peering into different philosophies of mind and decided that I was not going to spend the rest of my days in this state. Was thinking about life, but decided that all in, kind of have like a hard. So I got rid of all my stuff, a few hundred miles, Colorado, and that really is what it was. It's funny because you go through some of the most intense physical discomfort, especially for me. Had absolute um, experience with it. Like I overpacked when I got probably 20 pounds. Like
Overweight.
I was, I was myself and out of shape. I like got lost the first day, and then I finally got to my water source that I had been expecting, and the stream had dried up, so I ended up getting dehydrated. But then there were these few moments of pleasure where I would like sit down at the end of a long, hard day and found just the right camping spot and just the right stream and make myself some dehydrated refried bean flakes and instant potatoes. And the joy from this simple, I think probably a lot of a rather vulgar and plain meal was incredible. Like sometimes it would bring, like you could just kind of surge of endorphins and emotion, this joy from eating such simple food. And that really does give you a different way of looking at things that make you happy. Too often in life, we chase after the object of our desire and the greatest pleasure that we can grab for ourselves. But that's not really what leads to contentment or happiness. It's the have in relation to that, what we were doing before it and what we do after it, and how we regulate ourselves, the things that we're subjecting ourselves all play into our perspective of whatever it is that we're doing in the present moment. So that kicked it off. And I wanted to learn more about the mind and learn more about how to be happy. I started traveling the states in a van that I converted for a couple of years. When I depleted my corporate savings, were mostly depleted. I went back home to do some roofing work for my buddy who owns a commercial roofing company. And that is when I met Paige. We were on the road in Jefferson City, and he took me out to eat one night where I met my waitress.
Yay! So Torin, tell me about that. Tell me about meeting this guy and joining with him and forming a partnership. And what was that? Where did you come from to get involved with that? You were just sitting there minding your own business, bringing out a medium rare steak.
That's so funny that you say that. We actually we bonded over being vegan when we met.
Oh wow, that's great.
That's actually why he went there and why I worked there was because I had a vegan menu.
Yeah.
He was the last customer of the night, so we got a good bit of time to chat, and we were talking about being vegan, and I didn't know he was like testing me. He asked me this question to see if I was how would you say?
I was making sure that she wasn't ideologically militant in any way, that she wasn't her identification with veganism.
Yeah, that if you pointed out imperfection, I would be able to accept it and not declare it to be an all perfect way of living.
Well, I don't know if this is of any interest to you, but I'll lay out the question. So when I was vegan, I shopped. It was just an easy rule of thumb. Like if I'm going to Walmart, I want to reduce my ethical impact. It's like an easy blanket rule to apply to it so that you don't have to think about it too hard. But if you want to like really sustain yourself in an ethical way, you're going to be asking yourself how many calories are yielded by the cost of the conscious life. So like in any sort of industrial farming, you're digging up gophers, bugs, and rodents and rabbits and occasional fawns. It's just a feature of farming. No matter what we eat, it comes at the cost of other life. And there are some vegetables that are less efficient at their life cost than there are something like, let's say, grass-fed beef, where you're not even doubling down on the food that you have to feed the cow. It's just freely grazing, and it's one life for an enormous number of calories. So I asked Paige that question: if the vegetables that you're consuming result in the loss of more lives than, let's say, a deer that you hunt and kill for yourself, or a grass-fed beef, wouldn't it be better to hunt and kill the deer? Wouldn't it be more ethical? Not all vegans will answer yes to that question. It's like they don't like it. They want it to be a perfect worldview, you know?
Yeah. And I kind of thought it was, but I'd never heard such a reasonable argument against it. I was like, wow, I never thought of that. Yeah, you're right. That definitely could be more ethical if you're hunting the deer yourself.
Not that it's
Well,
very.
Torin
Yeah.
wants to go. Torin
That
wants to go deep on the first date. He wants to.
Yeah.
He wants to get deep into it. He wants to know what type of person you are all the way down. I love it. I love it. You know, get to the point quick. I think it's great. So tell me a little bit about your mind training, the things that help you. What are the practices? What are the books you study? What are the philosophical thoughts that you have to help guide you and make you feel better and more peaceful and happy?
Well, I have plenty to say about it. You want to kick it off?
For quite some time, I've been interested in mindfulness and meditation. That's been a huge tool for training my attention, redirecting my thoughts if I'm focused on something negative or dwelling on something that's gone wrong or something like painful in your life. We can dwell on these moments and we can learn how to go through them and let go of them in a different way and not hyper focus and get stuck on things that are going to drag you down without any necessity, without any growth from it. So I've always leaned towards mindfulness and meditation, as that's like one of my favorite tools for retraining a healthier perspective, and it can be used in so many different ways.
I think meditation is an enormous help. And I think here in the West, especially, there's a misunderstanding as to what meditation is. There are like a lot of different ways that people practice meditation. But at the end of the day, it's pretty much just learning how to train your attention. It's learning how to direct your attention. If you don't know how to maneuver attention, which is the spotlight of our consciousness, then you won't know how to maneuver it away from those negative thoughts that you're having. Oftentimes, we have this idea to outthink your thought. So, but in doing so, we're giving our attention to that thought, and it's only perpetuating the issue. What we need to be doing a lot of the times, because typically we've already solved the problem or there's nothing you can do about it, but you're like ruminating and perseverating on a conversation that you did have, and the better thing to do is to figure out how to let go of it. Do that to help build our attention around. So meditate, figuring out how to do that, and you typically use something of little stimulation on which to fix your attention. It can be anything from the sound of water to climate. That with mindfulness meditation is trying to follow your breath from the moment the air cools the tip of your nose, the expansion of your diaphragm, through the exhalation as it warms your nose. And you're just putting all of your awareness right there. Thoughts are going to arise. That's what's going to happen. A lot of people think they need to like stop thinking thoughts in order to meditate, but it doesn't really work that way. It's nearly impossible. It takes a really long time, even to reach moments of conscious quiet. But you're really looking to not be struggling with thoughts. Most of us identify with our thoughts, but if we pay close attention, we'll realize we're not actually the thinkers of those thoughts. In meditation, you find that your thoughts arise spontaneously. You can observe them. If you are really anything, you're the witness to those thoughts. And retreating back to that observational space to just look at your thoughts objectively really helps you to let go of them, judge them rationally rather than feel like everything that you're thinking. There's nothing you can do about it, the way things are. Evaluate it all. That's the biggest tool, but there's so much more. I mean, there are so many different things just shape your perspective. It's really been brought forward by popular culture recently, but the true earlier antiquated texts of Stoic philosophy have some fantastic insights in them. I really love in the Enchiridion Epictetus intros the whole thing with the dichotomy of control is themes of cognitive recreation, a bunch of different philosophies and practices, including like behavioral therapy that we know and use today. But there are things that are within your control, and there are things outside of your control. Your control is everything that occurs internally, your opinions, your judgments. Outside of your control is everything external to you. It's the opinions of others, possibly the place that you were born in, the culture that you were born into, the family that belongs to you. Those things are not truly within your control. And if you wish that the things which are outside of your control should be within your control, and you spend your time focusing on that, you're always going to be a slave to your mind. So one of the best things that you can do with your time is to figure out how to let go of those things which are outside of your control.
If you could see my face right now, you'd see a big old smile, okay? Just a huge smile. I love it, right? You're talking sage advice. You're giving great advice. Control what you can and do your best to ignore the rest. You know, do your best to look away from it and realize that that isn't what, you know, the spirit of the world would have you be conscious of or have you be focusing on. And you're doing such a great job of exempling that by putting your you know, your ass into the wind, right? You're out there. You're out there doing it, right? You're out there doing it. So I'm honored that you would share some of that information with me. Tell me about the hardest lesson that you've learned.
Through the walk, you think?
Yeah, maybe through the walk, maybe it's not through the walk, but a tough lesson's a tough lesson. You know, I don't know. Is there a tough lesson you've learned in your life?
The first thing that comes to mind is learning how to let go of control. In the beginning, it was letting go of wanting to control the outcome of what the day is going to be like and where we're going to find a place to sleep. Worrying about it just doubles over the stress and the suffering that might come from such a thing, and it might just wind up being perfectly fine, and it often was. And we had to force ourselves into it. Well, me especially in the beginning. Torin was like, "Stop worrying about where we're going to sleep. We'll find a spot. It always works out. It's fine." And I had to get kind of drug along until I learned to let go into it. And then that theme seems to pop up in all sorts of ways, from that to letting go of people's opinions and judgments of you. You just have to let go of things that are completely outside of your control. There's no reason to stress about it. We can't do anything about it other than try and be the best person that we know to be, and let go of the rest.
I think one of the biggest lessons for me is just it's getting learned over and over again every single day. It's that we never really know as much as we think we know. I'm writing a history currently. It's titled "You Know Nothing." It's basically about all the reasons that we can actually know that we probably at any given point in time hold in mind hold untruths or falsehoods. The way that our mind shapes the concept. It's a very what's the word for it? Illusory process in many ways.
Very biased.
Yeah, I mean we're just loaded with cognitive bias, totally prone to following a bunch of and taking them as fact. Over and over again in my life, I'm learning how wrong I've been, things that I thought I knew. And that becomes a studying the mind and learning about the mind itself, rather than just learning about things that appear to be fact. To learn about the way means being a little bit more aware of how tricky the learning actually is in the first place.
I love it. I love it. Right. Many times you think you're right until the next day and you're like, dang it, I wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, so what's next on in store for you? You say your trip is going to look different now. I saw at one point you got a hold of a vehicle
Yeah.
and now you're telling me that things are going to look different even more. Tell me what that's going to look like for a while.
Can you reveal it?
How
We
soon
haven't
is
posted
how
about
soon
it.
is this going to air?
Oh, well, I mean, if those are microphones you actually have on your collar, if you'll send me the audio file, man, we'll air it quick.
Won't you have the audio file?
Look, the wind is blowing so crazy over the microphone. There are times I can barely hear you, honestly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, we aren't recording anything. This is just the input to you.
Yeah, this is just going over to you. We don't have
Oh,
anything.
wow. Okay. All right, sounds good. Well, look, what let's do. Let's finish this out because and I'll edit some of this and let's do another one where we got a little bit better audio and we'll let you make your announcement or whatever about what your next trip is, you know. Or you definitely can talk about it right now. I don't know. I'm just so excited for what you guys are doing. I want to help you. I want to help you as best I can, you know?
Well, hey, I mean, we can bring it inside. It's not that big of a deal. We just need to like tidy up a spot. If you're still available to do it today, ideally we'll do it now rather than later. Do you want to restart the interview so that you have better audio inside?
Let's yeah, let's do that. If let's give ourselves, let's see what time is it. Let's give ourselves about a 20-minute break and we'll set back up so we can better hear you because I really would like to get a great message from you guys out. You guys are super. But right now I'm telling you the wind is killing us. It's absolutely killing us.
It's really loud for us.
Sorry about that.
No worries. We'll make a space inside.
Okay. I tell you what about let's see, it's 12:53. How about 1:30?
Sounds good.
All right, buddy. All right, bye y'all. We'll see you next.
Bye, Dave.